What is going on, everybody? Bobby Fi with Eric Schuetaber. We're going to be talking through tonight's massive MLB slate. Lots of things going on. No team standing out specifically too much. There's nobody with a 5 total, which is kind of amazing on a slate this size in modern baseball, but that is where we're at. We don't have a lot of incredible hitting conditions, and where there is good hitting conditions, it's like it's more of a pitcher's situation. So like Atlanta, for example. So it's going to be interesting to try and figure it out. I've sort of narrowed my stuff down a little bit. Sheets, curious what you've got, and what you're sort of getting early in the day here.
Well, I mean, right now, I just got some lineup changes that I have to kind of deal with. The White Sox came out with their lineups, and Senzel is not in. If that was going to move the needle to anybody. Why just adjust this real quick? Why don't you go over your exposures first?
Yeah, so I'll talk a little bit about what I'm doing. So basically, my pitchers are Ray Reagans and Cole on both sites. I do have one lineup on
Ray Reagans and who?
Cole. I'm sorry. Did I say Cole? I'm sorry. I meant to say Ray Reagans and Wheeler. Excuse me.
Okay.
And then
Bradford, I was going to say, did I get a lineup change or something? Okay.
I do have one Bradford lineup on FanDuel. Those are, but on, the other three are by far my highest owned on both sites, but on FanDuel especially. On DraftKings, the other guys I'm getting other than them, and those three are still taking up a bulk of my ownership. I have some Gill. I have about 15% of Gill, 15% Assad, and 10% Berrios, and that's pretty much my and then Bradford, but that's pretty much my pitching pool. Might be a Shane Baz somewhere. There might be a Nick Pivetta in a small thing, or the Salmons, assuming that he does actually pitch tonight for Detroit. But mostly it's going to be Ray, Reagans, and Wheeler. And I don't really care about eating some of the chalk. The other one that I considered was, even though I hate the matchup because they don't strike out, is the Bailey over in San Diego. I can definitely see that as being a play that could be worthwhile enough at 8,400 only. So I think go ahead and take a shot on that one if you feel like it. So that's sort of where I'm at, though.
Okay, so for me, pretty much I guess with the field. I mean, I'm getting like 40, and okay, in terms of what I'm playing the 150, the knuckleball, and my exposures are going to be cited in terms of like all my contests. So I'm playing the knuckleball, I'm playing the immaculate innings, couple lineups there, ball 4, the battery, power alley, and home run. I call that the sheet special now because I never heard of it before I played it, and I won it the first time I played it. So I'm gonna keep playing it. But so I have Reagan's like 44%, Robbie Ray like 40. You know what I mean? Like, and then Wheeler 32. I mean, technically, those are all a little bit higher than I have their ownership, you know?
Right.
Then got 16% Bradford, like you said. And then I have almost 15% of Pivetta. And then a little Berrios, probably with the field. I even have a little over the field, but not much of Joey Estes, like 8%. I'm under on Gill. I guess that's the one place I'm under. I only have like 6% Gill. But
that may be where the field is actually. Maybe by the end of the day.
Yeah, I have the field at 13%.
Maybe
right now, but so again, I'm not taking any really big stands. It looks like on any of these pitchers.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable on this slate. I forgot to mention that Bradford is the one I do have above the another one that I have double the field on. Just because Pittsburgh has had some troubles against lefties and just trying to do something a little bit different. But hitting wise, I'm looking at, I'm showing the projected ownership right here, and you can just see that there's really not any chalk stack. I mean, if you look at the highest owned hitters today projected are basically from the top 8 are all from different teams, which basically never happens. So I'm not sure. I'm not saying it's going to end up that way, but you really don't have any stack on DraftKings that I think you should be afraid to play. Maybe if you're going to take a little bit of a risk at pitcher, maybe you play Kansas City in that build if you want to play some Kansas City. That's one thing that you could consider. but I'm just going to grab it and go over here and take a look on FanDuel. It is a little bit different on FanDuel. I think you're going to have a little more chalk on, as always, on the pitching and the hitting, but still spread out enough on FanDuel. Philly's getting more love over there because they're harder to get there. They're just so expensive on DraftKings. But I really think you could play anything that you want and not have to worry an incredible amount about ownership because of the size of the slate and the fact that no team really stands out. Do you agree with that, Sheets?
Yeah. So here's this is actually pretty timely. As far as my ownership in stacks, it also pretty spread out. But I talk about either looking or not looking, or like trusting or not trusting in, and I'm actually looking to see who I have here, and I'm glad I am, because there is one team that I have, I think, too much of. So what I did was I looked at my exposures in total, and in my overall stack exposure, I was getting the most of Seattle, and not that much more than everybody else, but that's fine. But I was getting like a decent amount of Detroit, which we talked about, like on a huge slate. I mean, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like playing Detroit at 10-mile-an-hour winds blowing in when it's cold. And then I looked at my overall exposure just to 5-man stacks, and highest exposed 5-man stacks in my whole slate is Detroit. So that's something that I can do, to import my own takes on top of what my projections are doing, and I can trim back or even X out Detroit. And if I did that, a couple of things will happen. Number one, I'm going to be different from people who use Saber Sim, right? Because they're going to get Detroit. They just are. Like if I'm getting that much of it, other people are going to get them. And I've learned enough about battling the winds in Chicago, especially with a bad team, that I could actually just go ahead and X that out, and that could just affect like the whole build.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting idea. That part of why they're showing up is because they're extremely cheap, and they've got some really, really cheap spots down at the bottom of the order. So I get why it's happening. I personally don't want the 5-man stack. Saberson tried to give it to me when I tried to build, and then I ended up whittling it down. Actually, when I tried to program what I wanted in there without saying anything about stack exposure, I still always get the 5-mans. Today, I did not get even a 4-man stack from Saberson. They were only giving me 3-2-2.
Really?
Yeah, 2-2-2-2s. Wow. It was really weird. But part of it was because I wanted to target some of the bigger bats, but I only had like 5 guys who I put anything on. It was like Ohtani, Judge, Soto, the expensive guys. So I understand, but very, very strange. And I X'd out Detroit as kept trying to get me Detroit. And I also think that the Seattle love, I get it. I definitely think it's worth taking some shots, and I do have some of it. I maybe, based on other shows I've heard, I feel like people are talking about it as if it's clearly the best stack on the slate. I don't agree with that. But I think I think there's upside there. And again, it's very spread out. So what I'm doing stack wise is I adjusted since then. I found a way to get back to more normal. Even I have a hard time with the 2-2-2-1-1 things. I did leave in a couple 3-3-2s because I thought it actually made enough sense if I could get Judge, Soto, and Ohtani in a lineup together. That sounds pretty good. Those guys can score enough points to more than the entire the 8-man stacks for other people, or the 8-man lineups. So I ended up getting to the Yankees as my number 1 stack. Toronto is very affordable with Willie Wagner batting. He's my highest owned player. He's batting 4th now for Toronto, and he's 2,500. And second base. So he and, again, Toronto, the Dodgers, the Yankees, Kansas City, Tampa Bay. Then I have San Francisco. Then I have Seattle. That's the rankings of the teams I like.
I have, and just for what it's worth, I have a lot of players that are not confirmed yet. Which means that they're later games, which means I have flexibility there, which I kind of like. Mm-hmm. What about what are you doing on FanDuel as I check myself when I'm doing FanDuel?
So yeah, on FanDuel, I actually ended up with one Milwaukee stack, and I'm not going to change it. Milwaukee and the Dodgers, I'm okay with taking a little shot. Milwaukee's pretty cheap. I don't really love the situation, but it's good enough to where I don't feel like I'm like in love with one stack that much today. Still have mostly Yankees. I guess it's Yankees, San Francisco, Kansas City, Dodgers, then Milwaukee.
What about pitching over there?
In Seattle. I said that one. It's all Reagan's, Wheeler, and Reagan's, Wheeler, Ray, and then in some other. I did have one Bradford in a medium-sized buy-in, and I have one Ober. That's pretty much all my.
Yeah, we're pretty much the same. I'm playing like 150 of the $3.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a full 40% Ray, and then 20% Reagan's, and like 15% Wheeler, maybe a little bit of Bradford. So here's like a silly thing. So I'm getting, it's not a lot, but I'm getting 4 lineups with FanDuel with Walker Buehler, or 5 lineups. I probably should just get rid of that. I mean, if you're telling me that he's good for 70 pitches on freaking FanDuel, I mean, like that's probably.
Yeah, I didn't. Let's see, what do we have him projected? They've got him projected at 86, which is why he's probably popped up a little bit because he's 7K and he's facing them. Now, will he throw 86? I don't know, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's hard for me to picture him being the best pitcher, like the best option. I understand that he's cheaper.
I'm going to leave him in. It's 5 lines at 100.
Yeah, he also did throw 87 pitches in his first start back. So with him, even though they may be careful, they also are he pitched poorly and they were still letting him get to his 85 pitches. You know what I mean?
Right.
So maybe you could feel a little bit better about that pitch number being at least around 85 or so. And as we saw last night with Gavin Stone, you can sometimes beat the Seattle team. Just Gavin Stone's not a particularly high strikeout pitcher. He had no problem mowing him down last night. Maybe we
did he ever mow him down too? I mean,
yeah, exactly. So I don't hate the Wheeler idea, especially in like the large field stuff. But it's just overall, I think that if you're picking a side, you want to pick more Seattle. But taking a weird shot with Buehler in a sort of a different price tier than anybody else, I personally would probably rather play Assad, but I don't think it's anything that big of a difference. And I think Buehler probably gets there just as often as Assad does. Assad is much cheaper on DraftKings and barely cheaper on FanDuel. That's the reason I mentioned it. Joey Estes is another name that I've heard people talking about on other shows. I am going on the other side of that. I very much like the Tampa Bay side of things. I think if you're going to talk about replacing a Detroit stack, you want another cheap stack that actually does have the upside and can get there. I think Tampa Bay is that stack. So that's my counter to Detroit and my counter to the Estes play. Now, if I ended up with 1 or 2 Esteses, I wouldn't mind. I just don't want it in my bigger buy-ins. And his projection says he's not going to be owned. I will tell you right now that he is probably going to be double-digit owned. I'd be surprised if he's not.
Which guy?
Estes, Joey Estes at
okay.
63. And look, and I just want to remind people, I do think it's worthwhile to play around with different types of builds. I know that you got a thing that works great for you, and I think sticking with it makes perfect sense, obviously. But I think there's many different ways to win, and we're seeing people win where they're really prioritizing certain hitters. And sure, they accidentally might have a 3, but I mean, last night it was won by a 2-1-1-1-1-1-1-1-1. So I'm just saying, there's different ways to win. I think that you can, the bigger the tournament, the larger field the tournament, the better it is to get more creative with that kind of stuff. That's just my personal take. And I also think you can get away with it on the total opposite side in single entry, 3-3-2s, 3-3-1-1s, 3-2-2-1s. That's more where I would want to do it. It would be single entry or giant field, not the in between. That's just me personally. All right, what else do we have here? Guys, pop in any questions or thoughts you have in the slate or anything anybody else really likes. I've got a few home run guys that I wanted to mention that I like tonight. There's the normal ones I mentioned, Ohtani, Judge. I like Jordan Alvarez a lot tonight. I think Stanton has an excellent chance to go deep tonight. I think Brandon Lowe, however we want to say his name, is awesome play, and I think he is in a great home run situation against Estes tonight. So I would say that he would be another one. And then the two cheap guys the cheap guys of the hitting that really stand out on DraftKings. I mentioned Will Wagner. He's in literally like 40% of my lineups.
Will Wagner, what team is he on?
Toronto.
Okay.
He's a real prospect. He's batting cleanup, and he's 2,500, and he plays second base.
Yeah, I got some.
Yeah. Pingler, we can say that about Bueller, but the truth is, does anybody know who Walker Bueller is right now? Because this is not the same Walker Bueller we've ever seen. And actually, I kind of disagree with that. Walker Bueller went through an entire season where he basically had a quality start like 95% of the time. So I don't think I don't consider him to be a huge variance in his pitching. And I just don't know what he is right now. I really know with him coming back, if there's anything that tweaks at all, he's out. But if you want to play it, you're going to get him at like such little ownership. I don't mind if you want to take that shot. He's at the right price or a better price for it now. But Bueller and Miller are definitely, yeah, I hate that idea personally. But I do like the Toronto idea, and I don't mind the Baltimore idea that much. Except for, I will just mention this every slate. Everybody thinks stacking against Quintana is the right idea, and I think in the 10 years that I've been doing this, 9 years that I've been doing this, I don't think Quintana has been I think
it's like never worked.
Like never has worked once. But it's going to work. I mean, that's not true. I'm sure it's worked at some point, but it just doesn't happen very often. Quintana's really good at limiting damage. So anyway, should I run a build for people so they can see all the Detroit? Because I still saw it when I was. Let me clear my stuff, and let's do this. We'll run a quick build. First person to say what build we're running, that's what we'll do. I like that I can do this now because when we were doing it in basketball at the beginning, when the Sims started taking over the world, Sheets was the only one able to do it. I couldn't do it. Now I know how to do it. Let's get my guys clear. Let's clear my ownerships. Okay, wait, hold on. No, that's not right. Why can't I adjust this? Oh, here we go. Clear my minimum exposures. Clear my team stacks. And then we will go from there. You can see that's sort of what I got at first, but it kept giving me 222s. And look, of the stacks I had, it doesn't show anymore. Yeah, look, of the 5-man stacks, look, Sheets, 1 5-man stack it gave me.
That's amazing.
I understand it, but and I didn't do that much. All right, so Knuckleball says MJ. We'll do the Knuckleball here, and we'll do a build. Let's see if I can. I should have to change one. Oh, it's allowing me. What does it allow? What has it got? Did it reset all my player exposures? It must have, right? Yeah, I don't know why it's letting me because okay. All right, let's try this. We're going to build 150 or let's build 100. Just make it a little bit straighter. We'll just start off with 1 and then we'll do this. Let's see what SaberSim is in the mood for today other than Detroit. Watch Detroit go out there and somehow 10 runs and 3 inside the park home runs.
It happens.
I know.
It happens a lot. It just does.
No, it's crazy. It does. All right, here we go. It's building. You guys can still see my thing. So, and I'm going to bet that it's going to come up with Seattle, Detroit. I think it's going to come up with some Tampa Bay.
Yeah,
I don't understand why the Yankees
Tampa for sure.
Yeah, I think the Yankees are the team that I just feel like is the most misprojected. I think they score 10 runs here as much as they score 4. I know it's the Cleveland with a good bullpen, but I'll take my chances with the Yankees tonight personally. All right, here let's see. It only built 15. Let me just change this. Sorry, guys. It did that. Why did it do that? Let's do this, and now let's rebuild them. No, I didn't leave my minute. Brody says, "Oh, it did. Wait, it put him back. That's weird. Oh, I must have just reset him for the pitching. That's why. Oh, that's what I have to do. Let me cancel this and then rebuild it. Sorry about that, Brody.
What happened?
Sorry. No, I was trying to build it, but I had reset my pitching exposure, but I didn't do it for my individual hitters, which were only 5 guys, but still. All right, so let's just change 2 little tiny things. We'll go to 2-0 even. And we will go to 19 even. Oops. And based on the projections, I do think Robbie Ray ends up the highest owned, slightly ahead of Reagan's, but I think it's going to be very close.
Oh, well, the only reason I might say Reagan's is because Ray screwed everybody last time.
Maybe, yeah. I just was going, yeah, just on the projections alone, I would have thought Ray, but yeah, I hear you. Hey, he could do it again, man. We've seen it happen plenty of times. But we've also seen him come back with like a 40 after putting up like, negative 15.
Well, the good news is, I mean, he's rested. He only got through two batters, right, or whatever.
What's wrong with this thing? There it goes. Yeah, that's fair. All right, let's see what we got. I did want to remind everybody, you've got about 2 hours until we raise our pricing. Just giving a heads up in good faith, and wanted to let you guys know that. So if anybody's interested in signing up, I know a couple people did sign up after I mentioned it earlier, so I wanted to mention it again. All right, here we go. So Rhodey's got a bunch of twins from SaberSim. Interesting. I never came up with the twins today. Interesting, though. Let's see what we got. And we got to send all of our luck to Rhodey, by the way. He's going to the live final this weekend. He's going to win $1 million. He's got the 3
this weekend?
That's this weekend. So here is what we've got pitching. So pitching-wise, wow, they went very heavy on Reagan's and Ray, less so on Wheeler, and then Estes. So only 4 players above 10% that they gave exposure to on pitching. 2 of them are Ray and Reagan's at 62%. As far as the team stacks go, they went Seattle the heaviest, as I sort of was expecting. I'm expecting Seattle to be higher owned than they're projected, just because I've heard people talk about them and I keep seeing it in the builds. So they got 40% Seattle, 27% Pittsburgh, which is interesting because I like Bradford, but I think if you want to do something different in the knuckleball, I think this is the kind of time where maybe that would be a decent enough play. They're going with Cincinnati against Barrios. I'm not quite as high on that one. Then they got to the Minnesota, Texas, and Tampa Bay. So let's just say if I was doing this, I don't want necessarily that much of Seattle. And I don't personally want that much of Pittsburgh, but I'm willing to give them a little bit of let's go 15. A little bit. And then I don't want that much Cincinnati either. But let's just see what we did just with those
these Minnesotas are showing up a little. I gotta redo these Minnesotas.
Yeah, they go to Minnesota. Seattle. They go to Minnesota, yeah. And then Tampa Bay gets a little boost there. And let's see of the stacks. Okay, so let's see. It's stack types. Let's see stack types. Here we go. 5-2, 38%. 5 flat, 26. 5-3, 26. 4-4, 4%. And then 1%, 3-2-2. 2%, 4-3. 3%, 4-2. 4%, 4-4. So there we go. Back to some normalcy, at least from them. And let's see what we did if we got 3-min exposures and see if that does anything with our pitching. Because I am curious if we can get, yeah, there we go. That's more, I like this a little bit better. So if it was me personally, that's the way I would be utilizing it, something like that. Individual hitters. What I hate about having a guy like Margot as my highest owned hitter, though, I hate guys who might get pinch hit for after 2 at-bats as being my highest owned player. So I might actually adjust that one personally.
Yeah, that's probably smart.
Yeah. You
getting to San Francisco?
Yeah, San Francisco I like. I actually think that my original thought was San Francisco and the Yankees. And then I started talking myself into Tampa Bay and the Dodgers quite a bit. It's interesting, this Keller against Texas. I tried to really dive into this one today, and I really thought like there might be an angle to either play Keller or there might be an angle to play Texas, and I just couldn't quite feel comfortable with any of it. But if you want to take a pitcher with upside in the 7Ks, Keller certainly has the upside. If you want to take an offense that has upside, Texas offense certainly has upside, and they're not going to get much ownership against Keller. So I kind of think that's another interesting game that if I was playing the knuckleball, if I was playing the 150 in the knuckleball, I would have probably gotten there. How many winning lineups have a 9th hitter? I just think that's not even a thing. Yeah, it happens a ton. I would say winning lineups having a 9th hitter until this year, for the last 4 years, I would say it was hugely likely that you had a 9th hitter in the winning lineup a lot of the time. just because it happens a ton. I've seen it a million times. You're usually going to end up with
it happens. It's fair share, and nobody ever plays it.
No, well, people do it when they do the 5-mans though. What people don't do very often is have them, and what SaberSim does force in sometimes is they'll force in the 9th hitter as part of the 3-man, and so it's a good way to get different because you're right, people don't want to have that 9th hitter in there, but it really doesn't. It's 7th, 8th, and 9th are really close together. They're usually going to get the percentages of at bats they get are just going to be similar. They're usually going to lose one at bat to the top of the lineup per game. Let's see. So Rody used this. So Rody, what did you end up with today? Oh, here it is. He says, Twins, Seattle, Detroit. Wow. Okay. I just, if it works, good luck on everybody who plays Detroit. I don't see any part of this, but I wish everybody luck.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I did play there.
I don't want to play that.
Yeah. Just not for me as a 5-man. Look, if I ended up with a 3-man, I would have no issue. But 5-man is a different story. I'm looking at some of my
I'm definitely down with getting some Texas, by the way.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
And I am going to, as I promised, I'm going to get some White Sox. I doubt it's going to end up being my big buy, unless I'm like really just things are grim, you know.
Yeah.
If things are grim, you know, the White Sox instead of Rays is certainly going to be in the offing.
Yeah. And by the way, I just want to point out, you know who's red hot and he's changed his swing a little bit. He went to the hitting coach over the All-Star break to his old Gavin Lux has been the hottest player in baseball, basically not named Corey Seager. He's been awesome. And he has always been an incredibly talented kid. And I feel like he's finding it right now. So that 3,800, 3,900 we were paying for him. I know it's like 2,500 we were paying at the beginning of the year, but that could be 5K pretty soon. Like he's got some, he's very, very good. And I would go out of my way to play him a little bit. All right. It seems the Sims are getting that. I got you. Oh, not what you're doing. You said that's what the Sims are getting. Rody, what do you like a little bit today? Why don't you drop in a little bit from the playbook here?
I hope he does a video on the live final. Or take some videos or something from the experience. That'd be nice. Yeah,
that'd be cool. Pingalore is asking, do you think hand builds? Okay, this is a really, really strange. It's a tough question. Do you think hand builds are the best the Sims more often? The Sims seem like buying a pick lottery ticket. Well, no, I would say the Sims are actually better. So the quick pick lottery ticket is the exact same odds as if you pick the numbers yourself. So that doesn't make a difference. But the Sims actually give you a better chance than if you just hand build it. If you asked me if you took a random person and they were hand building a lineup versus someone who was using the Sims, I would say the Sims person has a huge advantage over the person just hand building. What do you think, Sheets?
Yep. I mean, definitely. But then, as I mentioned earlier, I mean, if you could put the two together, like if you're really good at like knowing baseball, for example,
right,
and also are adept at the Sims, I mean, that's golden. I mean, like
right. And it's one of the things that I love to do in basketball when the projection, like when we hear all of a sudden, okay, Miles Turner's out and everybody's going to play Isaiah Jackson. I'm looking for Jalen Smith, who's not going to be getting the same bump in projections. You know what I mean? Because I know that there's a chance that 2 fouls from Isaiah Jackson means Jalen Smith time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's little edges like that you can impart your wisdom on it, but it's overall, especially in baseball, I think that the strategy of using the Sims is definitely one that you want to be on that side. Or if you really know the game and you can combine the two, then you're golden. Yeah, the experiences are really fun. I kind of missed them. I got so tired of I went to too many in a row. Like, I know it sounds like a bragging thing, but it really wasn't. It was just that they happened to bunch them all together. And I hate a couple things about the live finals. I hate that they don't have late swap, because I hate the idea of you get.
What do you mean they don't have late swap?
There's no late swap ever.
Why?
They just never do. They pick games that are in a strange window that aren't usually on the regular slate. They always play on Saturdays, so it's usually a terrible.
Why? Because of colluding or something?
I don't honestly know what the answer is, to be honest with you. Maybe, but I think it makes no sense. And usually the games start in a similar window that the day they choose.
Right.
But like we had rain games in 2 of them one time, and there's nothing you could do about that. Like, and the game didn't start for another hour and a half, and we didn't even know if the game was going to play or not. So I don't like the non-late swap. I don't like the that's really the big one for me.
I gotta get going. I'll be back though. I'm gonna do the live thing at 11, and hopefully we'll have something good this one.
I'm going to my cousin's going away thing, but I'm gonna try and join you after and just say hello and see what you're doing.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Good luck tonight, man. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you guys in the Discord, and